Hi everyone, Liane here. I hope you're doing well. I completed my ink swatch journal just last month in February 2024. And now that it's completed, I'm going to do an official ink swatch journal flip through. This is truly like a time capsule. It's been a part of my journey since I started my channel back in May of 2022. It looks pristine, and it's because I had it housed in this Midori paper cover in the A5 size. And so it's done a really good job protecting my notebook. This is the Hobonichi A5 notebook, and it has, it uses the Tomoe River paper. This is the first page. Yeah, the first page. And this is, there's a video that I made. It was probably maybe one of my first 5 videos that I made. And this is the first entry in my swatch journal from May of 2022, which is the month that I started my channel. These are my first 5 inks that I received. And also, I hardly use platinum carbon black because in the first month of my fountain pen hobby, as you may know, platinum carbon black is permanent, and it is very permanent. And I accidentally stained our new leather sofa, and it's like a dime-sized stain on our brand new sofa that I had tried to scrub and scrub and scrub, and it is not going anywhere. So it's kind of been like an unlucky ink for me. So I'm gonna see if I can add it back into my pen rotation, like my inked, currently inked rotation, but I've been a little afraid to use this ever since the beginning, so we shall see. But anyway, these 3 inks I still use to this day. I have bottles of these inks. Diamine Ancient Copper, I just did my last ink comparison video. In this notebook is inspired by Diamine Ancient Copper, so it's definitely one of my favorite inks. So this is the first spread. Now here, this is currently inked number 1. Oh, I think what I did here was after I realized that I had come up with like a really new way of swatching inks using the stainless steel condiment cups, I took the pages out of another Hobonichi notebook that I had, and I had swatched these inks, and I basically ripped out the pages and cut them out and pasted them in here. And so yeah, that's why the style looks different, and also I just glued it, taped it onto this page. And then this as well, these ink swatches I made on Rhodia dot grid paper, and then I glued them onto this page, and yeah, so that's what I did. What's really funny too is revisiting these inks after being in the hobby now for almost 2 years. I just remember being so unfamiliar with these names because I was like, what's Urameku, Kitsune Biore? They were such foreign names and terms for me. But now it's just by nature, it's second nature. It's so natural for me to know all the names now. And I kind of chuckle because now, you know, Tokawa Matsu, it's not Tokawa, or it's not Togawa. I think it's Tokiwa Matsu, which is funny to me because now I know. And I remember back then having no clue what shading properties were, what sheening inks were, and now I can tell, especially looking at Tokiwa Matsu, that you could really see the sheen. And now I know what chroma shading inks are. So it's funny because I remember at the time I couldn't make the distinction just because these were the inks that I had so far. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see the subtle sheen. I could see the inks that shade well. And now reviewing it, it's so much fun to look back. These were also part of my first fountain pen ink collection. And as you can tell, I really love autumnal inks. I have yet to actually ink SBRE Brown in a pen. I accumulated so many inks in the beginning that there are lots of them that I have yet to ink up. So now in this season of an online no-buy, I'm really getting to know the inks that I have in addition to the pens as well. And then these are all the blues and the blacks in my original fountain pen ink collection. I still have all of these inks. These inks I got in, they come in a 3-pack that I bought on Amazon. These are lavender grays. Some of, this is like really just a spread where I was experimenting with the circular swatching. And it's funny now because Diamine Holly, at the time I didn't really care for it, but I wanted to swatch it just because I had it in my ink sample collection, and now it's one of my favorite inks. It sheens beautifully. And now that I know what I tend to like, I bet I'm really going to like Konpeki as well, but I haven't yet really played with that ink since swatching it in the very beginning. These are the bright blue inks. I hope you could see the sheening that occurs in Diamine Blue Velvet, especially Diamine Polar Glow. Konpeki for sure. There's some slight sheening in Robert Oster Fire and Ice and Diamine Marine. This is my olive greens. And I would say from just looking at it now, I ended up buying a bottle of Sailor Rikyucha. And yep, I have a bottle of Inaho, and these are the 2 bottles of ink that I have out of all of these ink samples that I tried. This is back in June of 2022. I remember liking Diamine Safari at the very beginning, and looking at this in a broad nib, it's really beautiful actually. So I'm curious to give that a try again. These are ink samples that I got from my husband and my daughter when they went to Vancouver for like a daddy-daughter trip. And the Vancouver Pen Shop had Robert Oster Vancouver Pen Shop exclusive, and they bought me a bottle of this ink. It's a beautiful, like muted cocoa brown color. And I think I would really enjoy using this now. I haven't used it in a while. What did I do? Currently inked number 2. I guess I redid it. Really gorgeous. Here's my burgundy reds. I remember very much liking Sailor Ink Studio 830. And here I'm just playing with different nibs using the same ink, and this is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. You could see how the inks, or how the ink color changes based on the nib thickness. And this was my currently inked, I believe it was for July of 2022. There we go. And I remember that I created my currently inked this month based on fruits. So here's Monteverde Mandarin Orange, Diamine Apple Glory, Kobe 30 OG Cherry, Kobe 11 Ikuda Orange, Vinta Macopa, which meant like crab apple, I believe. And then here's Robert Oster Barossa Grape. And this very, very fine, extra fine line was written with my very first glass tip pen, and it was a vintage Sasaki glass pen that I bought on eBay, and I've since chipped it, and I'm so sad that I no longer have it because I don't think I have any other dip pen that writes as fine as this one did. And I think when I look online to see if I can buy another one, they're over $100, which I can't believe. I don't think I bought mine for $100. It was definitely much cheaper. Writing samples with the inks inked up in the pens that year, or that month. This is all of the oranges that I had in my collection at the time from July of 2022. And from this selection, I ended up getting a bottle of Kyunghee, and it's one of my favorite sorts of like golden yellow orange. And I also have a bottle of Diamine Autumn Oak. And This is an ink exploration with Robert Oster Fire and Ice, which was one of my favorite inks at the time. And then here I am playing with the Kakimori nibs. So I have the glass nib, this steel pen nib, not a favorite of mine at all. This is a steel nib and the brass nib. This is using the ink Robert Oster Fire and Ice. And here's also an ink exploration of some of the brown inks I had at the time. Golden brown, reddish brown, like gray brown. Wearingle Stonecutter Song. Now that's a beautiful ink. I mean, they're all pretty gorgeous. And this is a spread that you may know from my Kakimori video that I made. It was one of the first videos that I made as well. And this was really fun. I was inspired by Ink in the way that she talked about her pens and nibs. And her videos really inspired me to kind of do like a feature video dedicated to the Kakimori line of nibs. This is a writing sample with one dip of the brass nib. Actually, let me see here. This is just, oh, this is it. So what I did was a dip test for each of the nibs and to see how much I could write with one dip. And with the brass nib, I was able to get almost a full page. This is with the steel nib. This is with the glass nib, and you can tell with the glass nib, it's more of like a gradual running out. It gets gradually lighter and lighter, whereas with the stainless steel and the brass nibs, it writes pretty consistently, and then the last 2 to 3 lines gets very faint. This is the pen nib. This is truly just for writing one line. It's truly just to experiment with an ink, and then that's it. I was pretty frustrated with it because I was able to write the first line, and then as soon as I got to Virginia Woolf, it gave out on me. So I was pretty frustrated, and I haven't really used the pen nib since. But let me know if any of you have had different experiences with the pen nib. This is my Purple Grays ink swatch comparison. You could see the chroma shading from the Sailor Ink Studio lines here. This is 252. Wait, 252 and 252? That's definitely wrong. So here's Studio 123. This is probably 252. And that, I don't know. These might be the same. Here I inked up all of my vintage pens in the same Parker Quink ink, blue black. And I think I had read online that you want to ink vintage pens with a reliable, kind of a standard ink, a safe ink. So that's why I had inked up all of my pens that summer with Parker Quink ink, blue black. And these inks were these pens were pens that I got from my neighbor Tina. And I haven't really used them. I think I'm kind of afraid to use them, but I definitely should in one of these currently inked videos. Some writing samples with each of the vintage pens. Here we are in October of 2022. This was my currently inked. Really liked Sailor Rikyucha. J. Erbon's Poussière de Lune. Shout out to M. Naosh. That was the name at the time of the viewer who recommended that I try Poussière de Lune, and now it's one of my favorites. This is Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo, and this is in Sailor Shikiori Harahara. As you can see, there is definitely some shading in the Sailor Rikyucha, definitely some sheening, definitely some sheening in Yamabudo. There isn't really any sheening here, but Poussière de Lune is really a nice shading ink, and Harahara is beautiful as well. There's some sheening kind of on the more saturated areas like the edges, but aside from that, it's not really a sheening ink. These were inks that I got from an ink swap from Memi.ens. And this was through the ink swap program event that Simone had hosted. And it was through Memi Ends from VA that I was able to try KWZ Honey, Troublemaker Abalone, and Tang Misa Blue. And I have to say, Tang Misa Blue is now one of my favorite inks. I have it predominantly inked in my TWSBI Mini in Rose Gold. Love it. Some teal and turquoise inks. Because of this ink comparison, I did buy a bottle of Diamine Aurora Borealis, and I've yet to ink it up in a pen. Sydney Darling Harbor by Robert Oster. This is when I really started enjoying more muted inks. Here's an ink comparison with some of my dustier pinks, and this is like kind of a nude color, maybe like a pinky brown, more of a brown, I guess, a tan color. And I thought they looked really good together. I have Waringall's 12th Night and White Rabbit. Those were splurge purchases for me. I haven't really inked them up in pens because I think they're quite light for my taste. But this is when I got Teranishi Opera Rose. Still one of my favorite inks. This is when I swapped inks with Lorelei. Handmade by Lorelei is her channel. And really fell in love with these inks, particularly Platinum Brune Sepia. Really interested with, it was really interesting to swatch Platinum Citrus Black because it starts out super light, and when it dries, it darkens to this black color. It was fun to swatch Dominant Industries Early Spring. Very light. It has a beautiful shimmer to it, but I just haven't inked it up yet because it's quite light for me. Tono & Limbs Rose Quartz is also another beautiful soft pale pink. Troublemaker Sea Glass is gorgeous. In a broad nib, you could really see the chroma shading qualities to it. This is my currently inked in November of 2022. In November is when I had inked up Diamine Holly in a Kaveco Perkeo. And this is when I fell in love with Kaveco Perkeos. I use that as one of my everyday carries, by the way. But anyway, it was this combination where I realized that I really enjoy Diamine Holly. And then at the Pelican Hubs meetup in 2022, these were all of the ink samples that I was able to acquire. Nicole from Nicole I, she had a lot of Troublemaker ink samples to share with me, and so I have a ton of Troublemaker inks here. Copper Patina, Simoon, Kelp Tea, Milky Ocean and Moon River, Hanging Rice. And I was quite surprised by Lamy Red. It's beautiful. It's like a vibrant pink red. Oh, and then I have a little ink vent size bottle of the Diamine Brandy Snap, and so I definitely need to ink this up in a pen because this is a type of ink color that I love. These are some brown inks. Here you can see how similar Van Pen 86 by Robert Oster and Waringall's Stonecutter Song is. Though this is a little bit more brown and this is more gray, I would say, or maybe more purple. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, probably more gray and more brown. This is the Cozy Ink Swap that I did with Paris back in December. Ferris Wheel Press inks are beautiful. They have like a subtle shimmer. This is Twinkling Tea Party and the Velvet Ballet. Very beautiful. I also got to try Song of the Reed for the first time. And Sailor Urameku Itazora, it's beautiful, beautiful chroma shading ink. And Monarca Tierra Colorada is a beautiful brown as well. It reminds me of like Steeped Umber and Pilot Iroshizuku, what is it, Tsukushi, and maybe even Yamaguri. I'm not quite sure, but it would be really nice to do like a deep, dark brown sort of ink comparison. This is from December of 2022 when I swapped inks with Karina. And when I received it, they had leaked, and Diamine Enchanted Ocean was almost all gone. All that was left was some of the shimmer. And then all these other inks got really muddy because I think Diamine Enchanted Ocean or all the other inks started mixing. And so I think what happened, now that I'm aware, I think it's the fact that we tried swapping inks in the dead of winter, and when the inks are like in flight, they are prone to freezing. And so I think that's what it was with the mixture of air pressure in the cabins or like in the planes, in addition to just like the frigid temperatures. I think the inks just completely leaked everywhere. So it was pretty disappointing. I was so sad because I know Karina, she packs things so lovingly and with a lot of care. So then we're like, okay, let's try swapping again. So later on, she sent another package. This is kind of the era when I was into reaching out to other creators and asking if they wanted to swap. This is definitely the beginning stages of my fountain pen obsession. I was reaching out to anybody and everybody. I was like, would you like to swap inks? And Melissa from Skydyed Ink, she sent along like a gallon-sized bag of ink swatches or ink samples, and I haven't even gotten through all of them yet. This is just to kind of narrow it down. I just swatched inks from Krishna. Cassia Flora is beautiful. And then Krishna Golden Summer is just a sheener, a super sheener. Krishna Sailor's Blue is beautiful. It reminds me of Sailor Konpeki a little bit, but I would say it has more of like that red sheen than Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki has. And then this is the second, or was it even the third time that Karina resent the ink swatches or ink samples. And this time it turned out a little better, but the Roué d'Encre, the Rusty Anchor, came out a little mottled as well, or like muddy. So did she send it again one more time? I'm not quite sure. Yes, I think she did. So this was the third time. So Karina, thank you so much. Yeah, I think what I've realized is maybe to avoid ink swaps in the winter, especially when you're swapping inks with folks who live in the Northern Hemisphere in January, the December, January, February months. But anyway, so this is the ink swatching. This is an ink swap with Lorelei from Handmade by Lorelei, and I love her taste in inks. I love every ink that she shared with me. After this ink swap, I bought a bottle of Oyster Hour. Honestly, I would actually like to buy a bottle of everything. There wasn't an ink that I did not like. Steeped Umber really is gorgeous. Yeah. And then this was Take Two in January 2023. This is like a more successful ink swap where the inks did not leak. Enchanted Ocean is beautiful. And the ink swatch of Rusty Anchor turned out beautiful as well. And here is the chroma shading of Troublemaker Kelp Tea. This is my currently inked of January 2023. And this, oh my goodness, if you talk about like a curated ink collection, this is what Ian Domingo sent me. And this was also a set of inks. Like every single one of them I absolutely loved. I ended up buying a bottle of Diamine Wagner because of Ian. So thank you so much. So beautiful. These were the inks that I received in my mystery bag when I went to Vancouver Pen Shop. They sell these little paper bags full of like mystery inks. And these were the ones that I got. Another ink comparison, comparing all the sorts of like Dusty Pinks and Arima Amber, which is a little bit more like Ancient Copper. but they just look really beautiful together. And I was just playing with different ways of the writing samples. Inoho dupes. As you know, Pilot Roshizuku Inoho is now discontinued. So I pulled together some ink samples to do a comparison and see if I could find any that were similar to Inoho. I would say Kobe Shinkaichi Gold, the writing samples are very similar, except this is probably more gold than this one, which is a little bit more brown, I would say. Ferris Wheel Press Queen and Castle is very similar, except Queen and Castle has a little bit of like a rose gold shimmer, which is gorgeous. Sailor Ink Studio 280 is also, I would say, a similar ink when you look at the writing sample. And if you look at the ink swatch here, though, you can see it's a chroma shading ink. Beautiful. And Goose Poupon as well is a very comparable ink. Also, a special shout out to Birmingham Barley. This is more yellow when you compare it to all the other inks. This is one of my favorite inks, and I actually need to ink it up in a pen soon. These were inks that Three Oysters sent to me back in March, exactly a year ago. I would say that these three inks in particular are a little bit slower to dry. But yeah, this gray is beautiful too. Take 2 of my ink swatch comparison with the Three Oyster inks. These are Colorverse inks that I purchased from Atlas Stationers. Atlas Stationers was having a sale at the time, and they're all so beautiful. They shade beautifully. Kyujang Kak, Tangpyeong, Taepyeong Seongdae. I mean, these are beautiful muted colors. Space Needle is gorgeous. Like, look at the ink swatches. And then these two have a little bit of sheen. This is Green Goddess, slight sheen, and then Gravity Wave has like a red sheen. These are some Dominant Industry inks that I received from Dominant Industry. Very, very beautiful. My favorite actually happens to be Autumn Forest. It's a beautiful muted, like gray-green with a beautiful rose gold shimmer. It's one of my favorite inks, especially when I want a shimmer ink in a stub nib. This is a 1-year like fountain pen collection video that I was planning to do, and I don't know why, but I ended up not filming a fountain pen collection video in May. But at the time, I had inked up all the pens that I had in some of my favorite inks. Here are some pens that I inked up in green inks. And then in May of 2023, these are my currently inked inks here. As you can see, you might be able to see the rose gold shimmer in Dominant Industry Autumn Forest. These are Waringal inks that Waringal sent my way. Othello happens to be one of my favorite shimmer inks from Waringal. Also, wow, the Autumn Night After 1,000 Years. This is also a very beautiful, like gray-green ink, similar to Dominant Industries Autumn Forest, except Autumn Forest has rose gold sheen, and the Autumn Night After 1,000 Years has like a golden green shimmer, which is so beautiful. I ended up gifting this bottle to my sister, but I saved a few ink samples of it, so I'll probably ink that up in a future currently inked video. These are some inks that I got from Amarillo Stationery. Beautiful. Monarca Cenote is a super sheener. It's a sheening ink. Monarca Cardona is also beautiful, and it's a sheening ink. So I didn't realize there were shimmer in these two inks, and so I didn't shake up the ink sample. But these two have shimmer in addition to sheen. And Monarca Ray Jaguar It's a beautiful golden brown ink with some gold shimmer. That's really pretty. Very, very pretty. This was the ink rainbow tag, and these were my favorite inks in each color family. Another brown inks ink comparison. I love every one of these inks. Yeah, I can probably do another ink comparison video just on the darker, just the darker browns. So Vinta Heritage Brown, Pamana, Architecture Infinite Q by Waringle, and Robert Oster Van Ness collaboration Charred Hickory. In addition to probably Steeped Umber, Tsukushi, what else? There was Tierra Colorada. Journal Love Club. Susanna Conway had reached out and asked if I would participate in the Journal Love Club for the 2023-2024 academic year. And I said, absolutely. And so this is, what did I do? I think I did do an ink swatch journal flip through, and then I just drew this out as a way of just providing a sample of my swatching process. This is Ginger Chicken, and I used a brass dip pen by Kakimori. And then this is the Mystery Ink. Simona had passed along this Mystery Yellow, and I basically did an ink comparison with all the other yellow inks that I had to see if I could find like a dupe for it. Currently inked for July of 2023. Beautiful. I absolutely love Waringle's Kyunghee. And then Sailor Kitsune Biori reminds me of Stonecutter Song, and also the Van Pen 86 Robert Oster ink as well. This is Sailor Tokyo Matsu, and this is kind of a larger ink swatch that I made when I got my first Leonardo. This is a Leonardo Momento Zero in Foresta Umbra. Got it in a fine nib. I inked it in Tokyo Matsu, and there was a little bit of skipping. It's not noticeable here. So I switched it in a different ink, and it wrote much better the second time around. This is my currently inked for September 2023. Here I am trying again. I think this is take 2 of my fountain pen collection. And these were all the inks that I had inked up in each pen. Okay, I think I really love my browns. This is Warm Autumn Brown inks comparison. And this is an ink that I got, Sailor Manyo Shirakashi. I love this ink. I love it so much. October currently inked. I would say this sort of color scheme are some of my favorite inks. I love Diamine Green Umber, especially with my Traveler's Company Factory Green fountain pen. Like, it was my favorite pen and ink combination that month. Waringle's Othello that I had in my TWSBI Mini. That was a fun combination. Absolutely beautiful. This is my ink comparison, or Mont Blanc Cinnamon Brown ink dupes. So that's Mont Blanc Cinnamon Brown. Absolutely beautiful. Doesn't really smell like cinnamon anymore, not in here after it's been in here for a while, but it's a beautiful, like I don't know which one I would compare it mostly to. I guess it looks, in the writing sample, looks most like Platinum Mixable Earth Brown and SBRE Brown, except these look a little bit more orange. Oh, here's take 2. Beautiful. And then this is just different ink comparison styles. I was experimenting with inks that look like Taranishi Opera Rose and inks that look like Diamine Ancient Copper. And this was in November. And then this is what you probably saw in the Taranishi Opera Rose ink comparison video. This is my January currently inked. I also loved these inks. Diamine Graphite is a beautiful, subtly like shade, not shading, but it's got like a subtle satiny finish in the ink swatch and also a little bit in the writing sample, which was very nice. Here's my Opera Rose ink comparison inks. And then my BTS purples. So beautiful. You could see that Troublemaker does a wonderful job with their chroma shading, multi-shading inks. And then here is my final swatch page from last month, my Diamine Ancient Copper inks, or ink dupe inks. There we have it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this ink swatch journal flip through. Hope you enjoy looking at all the inks all together at once. If you've been following my YouTube journey, you'll recognize a lot of these pages, but you'll see them one spread a month, and now having it all together is just so satisfying. If you'd like another separate video where I'm just doing a flip through with no talking, please let me know, and I can definitely do that as well. But let me know in the comment section if you'd like a no talking flip through. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.